This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I am Matt Fonslow, and I was watching Dirty Jobs. Yep, Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, some older episodes, and just flipping through channels, killing time. Mike has a lot of good advice. I don't mean just what we hear on social media or when he guest spots, although those are very good as well. One of them that I like, but aimed at young people, is show up early, stay late, keep your eyes open, your ears open, and your mouth shut. Work hard, get better, and become indispensable. And I think that is really, really, really good advice. I don't think it gets executed nearly as well as it should. I think our society is breeding, a certain level of entitlements, and they're not alone. Just the ones coming into the auto repair profession are not the only ones that are feeling entitled. And it isn't just young people. Middle-aged and older also display some major entitlement type of traits, personality traits. But that's not the focus of this. I have a different one that I really, really like. And it's not so much like a quote. You know what I mean? He's not just sitting here saying, do this, do that, or just waxing intellectual or anything like that. But it's kind of a realization of his. And now that I think about it, I think he might have done a TED Talk about this, now that I'm thinking about it. But regardless, the whole point is when he starts taking a high altitude view of Dirty Jobs, over the course of the years, something becomes very apparent to him, not to us as the viewers. They don't talk about it. But one of those is most of those people are millionaires, meaning that the owners of those businesses, and for all I know, some of the employees, we don't know, but those business owners, the ones that started those companies, they're millionaires, multi-millionaires. They're doing very, very well for themselves, doing jobs that nobody knew existed or could even imagine somebody would elect to do. And that's kind of the moral of the story. It really is. And I guess this is a quote that he has said aimed at young people. Don't follow your dreams, follow the money. Accomplish more by starting now. That's the motto of Repair Shop of Tomorrow, a Napa Auto Care exclusively endorsed vendor. Repair Shop of Tomorrow will look at productivity, efficiencies, effective labor rate, average hours per car, labor profit percent, measure and manage labor, and how you can create net profit. Interested in Repair Shop of Tomorrow? Call 440-545-1230 for a free 20-minute no obligation consultation, or contact your servicing Napa Auto Parts store. I don't want my interpretation of that to come off as even greedy or anything like that. What it really is as a manager, as a business owner, looking around and going, where is the money? And I don't mean like physically or, wondering out loud, why aren't we doing as well as I think we should? Or why aren't we doing as well as so-and-so, who's, on a podcast or in an interview or written an article or featured in a magazine or whatever. But if I look at a lot of repair shops in my vicinity of Riverside, something becomes very apparent to me. And that is, there's not a whole lot of separation, if that makes sense. And I don't mean like physical separation, but there's not a lot of like differentiation between repair shops. Maybe price structures. Maybe some are more tire shop-esque, undercar-esque. That's what their aim is. And maybe some kind of mom and pop. And then others a little more franchise. And one's really aiming at the quote unquote bottom feeders, which is maybe not a good way to refer to clientele, but, in I think as a kind of you understood type statement, those that do not want to spend or don't have a lot of money to spend on their vehicles. And that's really it. I'm just trying to think about it They pretty much all service the same car lines, do pretty much all the same type of work. They all have tire machines. They all have tools and equipment to do, brake services and all that. One, maybe two scan tools aftermarket. I can think of two other shops that have a factory scan tool. And then that's it. There's really no separation. There's no difference. And so when I'm thinking about this as follow the money, do stuff that nobody else wants to do. Is there a market for that? You'd have to do a little bit of research. You can't just up and decide like, oh, we're going to do this. Nobody else is doing it. Yeah, well, there's no market for it. So what would be the point of that? But in my case, where the shop is located, as a few examples, and this is not like a how-to at all. It's just maybe a mental exercise that the population's about 20,000 roughly. And we have really, I'll call them 3 dealerships, GM, Ford, Chrysler. The Ford and Chrysler dealer are all in the same building. I guess fairly separate from each other, when it comes down to papers, but they're all under the same roof. And then we have roughly, 16 other repair shops, independent. If you drive around just parking lots, there's a fair number of European vehicles. Nobody wants to work on European vehicles. So, like most things I do, I bite off more than I can chew. I started a marketing campaign. Social media, website, trying to climb the rankings, spreading the word, in a referral-based marketing group. It used to be a BNI group. Now it's kind of on its own, pushing for European vehicles. Got to be careful what you wish for, but that's what I was doing because nobody else wants to touch them. And there's a lot of Volkswagen Audis, a fair number of BMWs, fair number of Mercedes-Benz, and then probably too many Land Rover Jaguars. But there's some. Nobody wants anything to do with them. And Volvo, we don't want to forget about Volvo, do we? Nobody wants to touch them. And for the most part, they're not a big deal. I mean, you got to do some research. Service information is important. But you got to have the right equipment. And like anything, right? You start accruing it. And for a lot of them, the cost isn't that bad. It's no worse than the domestic stuff. So we were tooled up for domestic and Asian vehicles. Start adding the Euro stuff to the fray. And yes, there was a learning curve. It was not instant. There was no instant gratification on that. But we're getting more and more capable on them, not just equipment wise, but experience, comfort. A lot of it's just comfort. And you start getting a reputation, and shops start referring that stuff to you, especially if you have good relationships with them. They don't want to mess with it. So when somebody comes in with their Euro car, guess whose card they're handing them? Guess whose number they're handing them? That's one example. Hey guys, Matt here talking to you about what the Napa Auto Care Center program can do for your business. You probably already know the Napa brand is the most recognized and trusted name in the automotive aftermarket industry. In fact, studies show nearly 95% of customers recognize Napa and associate it with quality parts, service, and technical expertise. So why not complete a Pro Image upgrade and take advantage of that? Pro Image is a co-branding program for the exterior and interior of your shop. On the outside, it includes the Napa colors and distinctive Napa signage. While the public may know you as a reliable, locally owned business, a Pro Image upgrade helps set your shop apart from the competition even further. It is also a visual signal to your customers and potential customers that you and Napa are partners. Most importantly, Pro Image really works. This co-branding opportunity has helped Napa Auto Care Centers across the country increase their car counts and sales. In fact, those that have completed the Pro Image project enjoy an average of 23% sales increase during their first year. Pro Image upgrades are also available for the interior of your shop. A Pro Image interior upgrade transforms your customer waiting area from merely utilitarian to warm and welcoming. The goal is to maintain your shop's independent identity while enhancing the customer's experience. You can get a free look at what a Pro Image exterior or interior upgrade can look like by visiting the Napa Auto Care member site and clicking on the Napa Pro Image link under the Napa Pro Image tab. Or contact your local Napa Auto Parts store. Your servicing Napa store can tell you more about Pro Image plus the hundreds of other reasons to become part of the Napa Auto Care family, the largest network of independent auto repair shops in the country. Another example, remote starts. Nobody wants to install those. And I think some of this stuff plays well for populations like I'm describing, because there is not a dedicated 12 volt type accessories facility or shop, people doing it out of the garage. We just don't really have that. So there we are. We're kind of the only real game in town, unless you want to drive a fair distance. And many of these, the installations aren't that bad. Some of them are horrible, but for the most part, they're not that bad. And we can control the quality and, have somebody experienced doing it, or somebody experienced, helping somebody less experienced do the install and do it the right way. So that's another avenue. One that I think I kind of want our shop to start doing is the kind of the green market. And I'm not even thinking like over the top, but advertising and doing it. Start recycling, showing people that we're solvents, or where we could replace solvents with an aqueous based type of detergent in a maybe a more closed loop type system, that we choose that over the solvents, and the solvents going down the drain. And I think if we start marketing that, and maybe taking advantage of credits or rebates to install solar panels, or depending on, your facility, ours have all new lights. Anyways, they're all LEDs, but maybe upgrading to LEDs and trying to make a big deal out of it, and getting noticed by those that do care deeply about the environment. And I'm not saying we don't care about the environment. I'm not trying to say that at all, but maybe not quite over the top, like off the grid. I don't know, how reasonable that is for us yet. Stuff, it's an evolution, right? Not a lot of the changes we make aren't revolutionary, they're evolutionary, and we work our way up and figure it out as we go. But I think that for us, that would be a market worth going after, that that would bring in more hybrid work, most likely, more EV work, most likely. And if people know that, you make a concerted effort to minimize your environmental impact, that means a lot to them. And a lot of those consumers will travel a fair bit of distance to bring their vehicle to a shop that does care and demonstrates it. So, that's kind of where I'm heading with this idea, is follow the money. What can I do to separate myself from the other repair shops? Why would people pick us over somebody else? A lot of it maybe isn't like we could just sit back and go, oh, we're better, whatever that means. But we do stuff nobody else does. We take on jobs. Maybe it's not just jobs. So I learned very recently that a lot of shops want nothing to do with engines. If it needs an engine, take it somewhere else. They don't want to mess with it. I guess, there are headaches nowadays with newer vehicles. So we take them on. Timing chains, timing belts, specifically chains, I think. Buying, the alignment tools for the cam and the cam alignment tools. And some of them hurt. Some of them are kind of spendy. But the next thing you know, you're the one that can do it. You're the ones that can get it done. Or Shop B needs to borrow this set from you, and now they owe you a favor. And that comes in handy too. Or, what? They're sending stuff your way, feeling a little obligated, or just feeling good about their relationship with you, right? That's, to steal a BNI adage, know, like, and trust. Well, presumably they get to know you. And they're talking about other shops, techs, managers, owners, and start trusting you because you're kind of helping them out a little bit. Maybe not over the top, but a little bit here and there. Borrow them a tool here and there, offer some advice here and there. Next thing you know, cars are getting shipped to your door. And I just feel like we could take that idea of don't follow the dream, whatever the dream may be for the, our shop, our Taj garage, that may not be reasonable. due to a plethora of things. I mean, just out of your control, in your control, it's down the road. You're going to have to work your way to it. But maybe you can do this, that, and the other for less investment and start getting returns on it. Mainly because when it comes down to it, you're doing stuff nobody else really wants to do, and there's a market for it. Maybe a good reason to sit back on Discovery Channel and check out Mike Rowe.
You've been listening to Matt Fonslow, diagnosing the aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fonslow on social media and connect. Or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.